The Latin American International Championships just came to a close, and we saw a wild collection of Pokemon that made it to the top 8 of the competition. Today, I want to go through those top 8 teams and see the various techs each player used to make it this far in such a stacked competition. And then, we'll take a look at the final match between the two top trainers of the event. Looking at 8th place, we have Brazil's own Gabriel Agati, with a wild team featuring 2 types of weather condition, and Alolan Ninetales setting up the snow to spam 100% accurate blizzards, but no Aurora Veil, instead using Encore and Disable to shut down the opponent and force them to struggle, and a Politoed with a Chilean Berry. Throughout Regulation H, Pelipper had been the premier rain setter, having access to Wide Guard, Tailwind, 100% accurate Hurricanes, while Politoed has only seen niche use, and outside of Wolf Glick's win at the 2025 Toronto Regionals last year, it hasn't seen much success. But like Wolf, Gabriel's Politoed also had Perish Song, a normal-type status move that knocks out all Pokemon that hears it after 4 turns, but goes away if the Pokemon affected switch out. Normally, it's paired with a Pokemon like Gothitelle, Wobbuffet, or Mega Gengar who have the ability Shadow Tag, which stops the opponent from switching. Since Gabriel didn't have a Gothitelle to fully trap the opponent, they opted to use the move Whirlpool on Politoed, a weak water-type move that deals a small amount of damage over time, but stops the opponent from switching. The Chilean Berry reduces the damage the holder takes from the first normal-type move to hit it, likely to stop Politoed from fainting from a powerful Blood Moon, although it can get wasted if it gets hit by a weak Fake-Out. Gabriel also had the Fake-Out brothers, Rillaboom and Incineroar, to slow down the opponent, which gives space for either Perish Song to get KOs, or for Gabriel's Volcarona to get a few Quiver Dancers off and snowball opponents. Gabriel's final Pokemon, Basculation, had the ability, Adaptability, to boost up its water moves and last respects, and a Choice Scarf, instead of the usual Swift Swim and Choice Band sets you'd normally find on rain teams. But this allows Basculation to keep its speed advantage without Politoed or when Ninetales is on the field. A very fun team, and it was impressive to see Politoed and Dual Weather get this far. Next at 7th is Hans Pizarro of Peru, running a Sun team with a Chlorophyll Jumpluff with Tailwind, Sleep Powder, Rage Powder, and Leaf Storm, and a Jetpack Torkoal to set up the Sun and deal huge damage with overheats, and then switch out from your own stat drops. Also switches you out if you get hit by an Intimidate on leads. As well as Burning Jealousy to punish an opponent's setup Pokemon. Protect, and Helping Hand to boost up a partner's damage. Namely, the Choice Specs, Terrafire, Hisui, and Typhlosion with super powerful Eruptions, Heat Waves, Overheats, and Shadow Ball for added coverage. But not every Pokemon on Hans' team is built to take advantage of the weather, such as the Life Orb Garchomp with Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake, and Dragon Claw, a Loaded Die Dragonite with Scale Shot and Extreme Speed, allowing it to not get walled by Fairy types, as well as Haze to get rid of an opponent's boosts, and an Assault Vest Kingambit with Iron Head, Sucker Punch, Low Kick, and, instead of its signature move Kowtow Cleave, Assurance, which is a mere 50 base power Dark-type move. Doubles to 100 base power when it hits a Pokemon that has already been damaged that turn. A notable thing about this team is that it has the normally very slow Pokemon Torkoal, no Trick Room options, and Torkoal didn't have Weather Ball for any single target damage either, a break from the normal usual Torkoal sets. Kingambit also really hasn't been running Iron Head or any Steel-type moves for a while, but it makes sense considering all the Terra Fairy Dragonites and the Volcaronas out there. But with Terra Water, it will still need to worry about taking a burn from a Flame Body. At 6th place, we have Justin Tang, who has some fun options with a Choice Specs Trick Goldengo, who also has Power Gem for coverage, and Assault Vest or Chaludon, but with no rain setters, it opted to not even run Electro Shot, instead leaning into the defense boosting with Stamina and hitting hard body presses with Terra Fighting, and it can shut down special attackers with Snarl. He also had a support Volcarona with Citrus Berry, Struggle Bug, Tailwind, and Rage Powder, and Heat Wave for damage, a Light Clay Grimmsnarl with both Light Screen and Reflect, Thunder Wave for paralysis shenanigans and to slow down the opponent, and Spirit Break for consistent damage. Another Scale Shot Loaded Die Dragonite with Haze, Tailwind, and Protect, meaning it can be walled by Fairy types, but runs the Fairy type Terra as well to wall opposing Scale Shot Dragonites. and a Life Orb Blood Moon Ursaluna, my own personal favorite set for the Pokemon, with Hyper Voice, Blood Moon, Earth Power, and Protect. Gholdengo is interesting here as it has Choice Specs and Trick, as that is a combination that has been seen time from time, and can be useful to shut down an opponent's support Pokemon, or a setup sweeper that now is choice locked into a setup move. A really interesting thing you can do here with this team is with Archaludon and Dragonite, is if you have Dragonite, use Scale Shot on your own Archaludon, it will give it a stamina boost for every Scale Shot that connects with it, giving you possibly a +5 on Body Press on turn 1. That is, of course, when Scale Shot hits. In 5th place, we have Oliver Eskelin of Finland, who had another Sun team, but, like Hans Pizarro, has some really unique picks. A Focus Sash Coaching Annihilate, a Scale Shot Dragonite but with extreme speed, and Ice Spinner for terrain hate, and also to take out opposing Dragonites. An Assault Vest Incineroar with U-Turn for pivoting, an Eviolite Dusclops with Nightshade, Pain Split, Haze, and Trick Room, and what is, in my opinion, the wildest choice, Chlorophyll Life Orb Venusaur with Earth Power, Sleep Powder, Leaf Storm, and Terra Fire Weather Ball. The team also has a Charcoal Terra Fire Torkoal with Eruption, Heat Wave, Helping Hand, and Protect. Venusaur is similar to Hisuian Lilligant, which a lot of other Sun teams have been trying, although it's far bulkier than Lilligant, more offensive, and has better defensive typing. Dusclops is an incredibly difficult Pokemon to remove from battle, with the Eviolite item giving it a 50% increase to its defenses, and Pain Split to heal it back up after it takes some meaningful damage. Now, I didn't play in Sword and Shield, but from what I've heard, Dusclops was a top-tier Trick Room setter, so it's cool to see it back in Scarlet and Violet here at the end of Regulation H. One more thing about Dusclops, it had the ability Frisk, which reveals the held items of the opponent's Pokemon. This may seem like a weird choice in an open team sheet format, where everyone knows all the moves and held items each Pokemon has, but it does have a useful application, although it didn't come up in the top 8. It allows you to discover if your opponent's Pokemon is actually a disguised Hisuian Zoroark, or normal Zoroark, although no one's using normal Zoroark. Theoretically, it could also expose a possible team sheet error, but that's just a side benefit. And while Zoroark wasn't an especially popular Pokemon for this event, Dusclops' other ability, Pressure, is just extremely terrible and might as well not exist for the most part. In 4th place, we have Team Masset from France. Team had the Fake Out brothers, Rillaboom and Incin again, Rillaboom notably having high horsepower, which seems to have overtaken U-Turn in popularity for the gorilla. And Incin had safety goggles to block any spores, rage powders, or sleep powders that could slow it down. They also had Grassy Seed Volcarona, which would give it a +1 to its defense when it's on the field while grassy terrain is up, combined with Incin's Intimidate and its own Quiver Dances to boost its special defense. It can become a real boss battle for opponents. There's also another Alolan Ninetales who, like Gabriel, only had Blizzard for offense while running the Encore and Disable set. Team also had a Choice Scarf Adaptability Basculation with Terra Water to really boost up those water-type moves. There's also a more supportive Blood Moon Ursaluna set, with an Electric Terra type and leftovers. Electric Terra gives it a way to resist Gholdengo's Make It Rain, and only gives it one weakness in ground, which makes you weak to opposing Earth powers from other Ursalunas, but in that case you just simply wouldn't click Terra. It also has Yawn to force an opponent to either switch out or fall asleep, which can be really good against those Quiver Dance Volcaronas or Sword Dance Sneasler. For its attacking move, it only had Earth Power and Blood Moon, which can be a little bit of an issue when you're up against Grass and Flying types, meaning it can only attack with a non-resisted or immune move every other turn, and it misses out on the spread damage with the Life Orbs that's usually found with Hyper Voice. Can you tell I have a favorite? It's a set that has been seeing a good amount of success, however, I don't expect it to carry over into Regulation F in the next few weeks. In 3rd place, we have Yuya Tada from Japan. Yuya had a Focus Sash Teleport, and the more familiar Assault Vest Archaludon with Electro Shot, combining Tailwind and Rain to make Archaludon into a very scary Pokemon that demands attention. But it can be hard to actually deal damage to it that sticks because of Yuya's Sinistra, whose Hospitality ability will heal Archaludon by 25% of its max HP when it switches in, and Life Dew will heal both of them by another 25%, while Rage Powder will redirect the ground and fighting type moves that would be super effective to the bridge to Sinistra, who resists ground and is immune to fighting. You also had a Farigiraf to block priority moves like Fake Out that would slow our Chaladon down, and Incineroar that can slow down the opponents with its own Fake Outs, and providing more protection for our Chaladon with Intimidate. You also had a Trick Room mode on both Farigiraf and Sinistra. Farigiraf in particular had the Mental Herb item to get around taunts that may have prevented it from using Trick Room, which allows for Yuya's team to get around the faster Tailwind teams, Unburdened Sneaslers, Scale Shot Dragonites, but also gives space for Yuya's very offensive Ursaluna, running that Terra Normal Life Orb set with Blood Moon Hyper Voice and Earth Tower for damage. Helping Hand on Farigiraf can boost up Yuya's defensive monsters, although the team does seem a little heavy on the special side in my opinion, having only the Incineroar and the Body Press on our Chaladon for physical damage, and Incineroar's Flablets will be hampered by Yuya's Rain from their own Pelipper. But, even with the special walls out there are very few Pokemon that can take comfortably a Helping Hand, Life Orb, Paranormal Blood Moon, except for maybe Gabriel's Killian Berry Politoed. And now we are on to our two finalists. And in second place, we have Juan Salerno of Argentina. All of Juan's Pokemon were in the top 12 most used Pokemon list of Day 2 of the event, having Sneasler, Incineroar, Gholdengo, Rillaboom, Dragonite, and Blood Moon Ursaluna. Despite this, Juan was the only player in top 8 to actually be running Sneasler, who had a Grassy Seed to activate its Unburden ability to double its speed, making it crazy fast. It also had Swords Dance, Close Combat, and Acrobatics, a weak flying type move that is only 55 base power, but when the Pokemon doesn't have an item, it doubles to a powerful 110 base power move. In comparison for flying type moves, the only other moves that deal similar amounts of damage is Hurricane, which only has a 70% accuracy unless you're in rain, and Brave Bird, which deals a hefty amount of recoil damage depending on how much damage you dealt. The Terra Flying on Sneasler gives it an immunity to ground, which is one of its main weaknesses, and gives it a boost to Acrobatics, letting you take out the Rillabooms and Volcaronas that are everywhere. And when you get enough Sword Stances, Gholdengo resisting flying becomes null and void, which helps when compared to the older Sneasler sets of Protect, Close Combat, Fake Out, and Dire Claw, which can't touch Gholdengo at all. Juan's Blood Moon is also very similar to Teotim's, as this one is Terra Water. A good call considering the amount of Sun teams that made it to top 8. The Fake Out twins are up to their normal shenanigans. The only thing of note here is that Incineroar is running the Citrus Berry here for some health recovery, and has Terra Grass to be immune to the spores and rage powders like the safety goggle sets, while giving it resistance to those powerful water type moves coming from all the Masculations out there. The Dragonite is yet another Scale Shot set, with Loaded Die and Tailwind, Haze, and Protect, meaning that it needs the rest of the team to deal with the fairy types that would otherwise wall it. And considering that Sneasler has dropped Dire Claw, it's going to be mainly up to Gholdengo's Life Orb Nasty Plot boosted Make It Rains. It had a Terra Water for the fire types out there, as well as to gain advantage in a Gholdengo Mirror, making it resist the opponent's Make It Rains and not be weak to their Shadow Balls, which Juan's Gholdengo could fire right back with. It demands attention from the opponent, especially with the Fake Out twins slowing down the game and giving it space to set up with those nasty plots. Lastly, but certainly not least, we have our first place finisher and winner of the Latin American International Championship, Yuma Kinagawa from Japan. Yuma is also running a Sun team, but instead of Torkoal to set up the Sun, they had a Prankster Whimsicott with Sunny Day. This allows Yuma to keep control of the weather despite an opponent's switch-in of Ninetales or Pelipper, while also being in to get a Prankster boosted Tailwind to immediately boost its partner, unlike with the slower Tailwind setters like Dragonite, Pelipper, and Volcarona. It also had Encore for Disruption and Moonblast to deal some damage. Uniquely, this Pelipper did not hold the Focus Sash or the Covert Cloak like so many of them do. Instead, similar to Gabriel's Politoed, it held the rarely seen Fury Berry, which reduces the damage taken from Steel-type moves by 50%, turning what would be a 2x weakness into a 1-time neutral hit. Yuma had a Hisuian Typhlosion armed with a Choice Specs and Terrifier to deal out massive damage in the sun. Also present on the teams was a Safety Goggles Incineroar with Terra Water, presumably to keep a water resistance while also resisting fire damage coming its way. Yuma also ran that very offensive Blood Moon Ursaluna set with the Terra Normal and Life Orb for the huge burst damage. And alongside it is Farigiraf, block Fake Outs, Grassy Glides, and to set up a Trick Room, followed by boosting up the damage with Helping Hand, and a niche choice in Nightshade, a move I didn't even know Farigiraf learned, but deals exactly 50 damage and cannot be resisted except for normal types, allowing Farigiraf to get consistent damage on opponents, putting them in range of certain attacks from its allies, or to just do the final amount of chip damage to take a KO. The last Pokemon on Yuma's winning team has caused a lot of conversation amongst the competitive scene. An interesting fighting type Pokemon that isn't one of the 2 fighting types in the top 12 of the usage charts, Flamigo. Flamigo's ability Scrappy prevents it from having its attack drop from Intimidate and lets its normal and fighting type moves hit ghost types, similar to Ursaluna's Mind Die ability, which allows it to snipe Goldengos with super effective close combats, and allows it to use a niche normal type move, Faint, which has a small amount of damage and moves at an increased priority, and hits through Protect, and removes the effects of it as well, allowing Yuma's Blood Moon Ursaluna and Terrafire Typhlosion to launch huge nuclear attacks without having to fear of hitting into a Protect. It also has the move Wide Guard, which protects itself and its ally from spread moves, such as Ursaluna and Primarina's Hyper Voices, opposing heat waves, eruptions, snarls, earthquakes, machigachas, dazzling gleams, and so on and so forth. Now, let's look at the finals themselves. In Game 1, Yuma took a decisive lead on Turn 2, switching in the unrevealed Farigiraf to block Juan's Rillaboom from using Fake Out, allowing Yuma's Terra Normal Blood Moon Ursaluna to get a one-hit KO against a freshly swapped-in Sneasler, and after protecting, managed to take another KO against Juan's Rillaboom, while tanking a Blood Moon from Juan's own Ursaluna. After another Protect and switching in his Whimsicott, Yuma proceeded to take another KO with Blood Moon, this time against Juan's own Ursaluna, leaving Juan's Dragonite alone to take out Yuma's Ursaluna, and now it's stuck on the field against Yuma's remaining Farigiraf, Incineroar, and Whimsicott, a guaranteed losing position since Juan Dragonite only has Scale Shot and cannot touch Whimsicott. Going into Game 2, both players lead the same 2 Pokemon, but Juan has decided to drop Sneasler for Goldengo, which is immediately switched in for Ursaluna, and immediately takes a huge amount of damage from a Terra Normal Life Orb boosted Blood Moon, before switching out for Whimsicott, who absolutely tanks a Make It Rain with the use of its held Berry. Juan used a Steel Terra on Dragonite to survive a possible Moonblast and take resisted damage from the oncoming Hyper Voice from a switched-in Ursaluna to match Whimsicott's Tailwind. Instant swap back in for Ursaluna, and Whimsicott fell to a Make It Rain, taking Goldengo down with it as it fainted due to the Life Orb recoil chip. Juan sent an Incineroar for Goldengo, and Yuma sent out an adjustment of their own, Flamigo. And up against a Dark type, a Steel type, and a Normal type, it couldn't ask for a better position. Close Combat KOs the Terra Steel Dragonite, as Yuma's Incineroar drops to Juan's Ursaluna's Earth Power. Yuma protects both their Pokemon, preventing the Fake Out and wasting Juan's Blood Moon. Close Combat then KOs Incineroar, as Juan Ursaluna's protects. Close Combat nearly OHKOs that Ursaluna, but Juan survives and takes out Yuma's Blood Moon with Blood Moon. But the writing is on the wall, as Flamigo's Focus Sash is still intact. Juan played to their outs and hoping that Yuma's Close Combat power points were not maxed out, and trying to protect to waste them, but it wasn't to be. And, with one final Close Combat, Yuma Kinagawa won the 2026 Latin American International Championships, winning the grand prize of $15,000, and securing one of the 4 tickets to the 2026 World Championships. Juan Salerno, Yuya Tada, and Teotihuacan Massa secured the remaining 3 spots, and all 4 of these players will be ones to watch out for in the remaining regionals, and will be serious contenders at the next World Championships, and any one of those 4 could seriously be the next World Champion. I've been Moonjunk, and if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and comment down below your favorite team from Top 8. I really enjoy watching these major tournaments live, and I thought it would be so interesting to take a look at not just the final winning teams, also all of the other teams that were so close to the finals as well. That's all I have for now. Goodbye.